The topic for today's video is managing deaths at sea. So, how to manage if you have the unfortunate or you experience the unfortunate event of a death of a crew member on ships. The material for today has been mainly taken from the International Medical Guide for Ships. So, I've basically reproduced the material from the guide onto the slides here and adding some additional material of my own for a quick discussion about managing deaths at sea. So in today's video, we'll be talking about recognizing the early and the later signs of death, the procedure for examining a dead body, the disposal of the body, the extreme circumstances of burial at sea, and finally, what should be the action by the master or another senior officer on board following a death at sea. So let's start with recognizing signs of death. Now, the early signs of death indicate that the heart has stopped, where there is no pulse and no heart sounds can be heard with a stethoscope. Now, stethoscopes are normally provided in the ship's hospital, and you may use those to determine if there is a pulse or heart sounds. You may also use your fingers and use the pulse that you get from the wrist of a person. Now remember, determining that the person is dead is the most important aspect here. That's why it's important that you recognize what are the early and the later stages of death, and only when you tick off all the symptoms that you should be declaring a person dead as the master or the senior officer on board. The other early signs of death indicate that breathing has stopped, and you can do so by putting the ear over the patient's nose and mouth, and you will feel no air or chest or abdominal movement. Alternatively, you may also use a small mirror and place it on the nostrils, and if the nostrils is releasing any air due to breathing, then the mirror will fog up. Other than that, there will be no activity in the brain, due to which you can observe that the person who has died, the pupils of the person will become large and they do not become smaller even when you shine a bright light directly into the pupil. The patient will of course show visible signs of being dead as well, such as dull eyes and pale skin. Now these are the early signs of death. However, you must note that persons suffering from extreme cold or hypothermia may also look dead in certain cases but still be alive. Persons struck by lightning may also have large unresponsive pupils and still be alive. So if you are not confident, you should wait for rigor mortis or stiffness of the body to appear, and also check for some of the later signs of death. Before I discuss the later signs of death, I must add here that if you are still unsure after going through the early and later signs of death, then you are better off seeking advice through the radiomedical guide or radiomedical advice as it is called, and discussing the symptoms that you observe with somebody over the radio to confirm that the crew member is dead. So later signs of death will include stiffness of the muscles, which is called rigor mortis, which sets in at about 3 to 4 hours after death. This is most easily felt in the jaw muscles, elbows and knees. Additionally, the cornea in the eye also takes on a milky appearance, and this happens about 15 hours later. The body also starts to decompose, where discoloration from the abdomen slowly spreads to the rest of the body in about 2 to 3 days. Reddish purplish patches resembling bruises start to appear on the lower parts of the body. To examine a dead body, make sure that if you are the senior officer, if you are the master or the chief engineer or the chief officer or second engineer, you are better off carrying a few people with you. You could be accompanying other senior officers, or if you are the senior most officer, then you should be calling other senior officers or some junior officers, or you could also be calling the in charge of the crew along with you, so that all of you can check whether the person has truly died or not before a declaration of death is made. Once you have confirmed that the person has died, make sure you record the exact time and date of death if it is possible. You should be wearing gloves, eye protection, a medical gown if necessary. Photograph the body, especially unclothed, so to collect evidence of uh, the death, or if there were any injuries, or if there were any bruises or discoloration of the body. So collect as many photographs as possible. I cannot stress enough that you should be collecting maximum evidence, especially through photographs and witness statements, to protect yourselves tomorrow if there is any kind of legal proceeding. Make sure that along with photographs, you also record the skin color, age of the person, height, size, shape, hair length, color, eye color, and any other physical attributes that you may note down. This may also be done by multiple people who have examined the body. Especially at sea, it is up to you guys, and especially up to the senior officers, to determine the cause, or determine, rather verify that a person has died. Note down the extent of discoloration, body condition where swelling or body odor or discharge of fluids have taken place, and look out for signs of disease and possible causes of death such as blood clots, broken bones, etc. If cause of death is of course due to an injury, then of course it's quite obvious, but make sure that you collect as much evidence as possible and witness statements and photographic evidence that will be used tomorrow in the court of law or to use as an evidence for the death. To dispose of the body, now you should preserve it for post-mortem if possible, and if excessive decomposition of the body has not taken place. Make sure that you follow instructions of the flag state. In any case, try to wash the body, comb the hair, respect the religious beliefs if any, straighten the arms and legs and interlock the fingers over thighs, tie the ankles together to keep the feet perpendicular, put some cotton wool in rectum, nostrils, or from any other where fluid may discharge, which is normally occurring after death. If you can, use a catheter to empty the bladder of the dead body, and put it in a body bag which is available on ships and in a refrigerated in the refrigerator room. Now on the ships, of course, you have refrigerator or refrigeration rooms rather for meat and for certain cold products. So you may empty it if possible, or make a separate section to store the body. Only in extreme conditions and cases should you carry out burial at sea. Now, I don't recommend it personally, being an ex-seafarer, because if there is an unfortunate incident of death at sea, best attempts should be made to provide the body to the next of kin. However, if you do have to engage in burial at sea, procedure for this is detailed in the International Medical Guide for Ships. But I'll just summarize it for you, that the canvas bag in which the body is kept should be made holes in the bag to let the gas occurring from decomposition to be let out. You should weigh the canvas bag with bars, because you will be trying to make sure that the vessel, or rather not the vessel but the bag, is buried at sea. It stays at the bottom of the sea and doesn't float up. Make sure you respect any religious beliefs. So if possible, carry out the burial with the religious formalities, if especially there is a person on board who can do so. Note down the geographical position, such as the latitude and longitude at which the burial was carried out. Make sure you note down a list of the personal effects. Put all the items together. Get witness statements, get signatures from witness to ensure that no personal effects was stolen or missing. If any salary is due or money is due, or if there is money kept or money found, that should also be passed on to the next of kin as part of the personal effects. Following the death, a series of actions should be taken by the master, and it's not only the master but also by any other senior officer in case the master is missing. Alright, now first thing that the master must do is consult the International Medical Guide for Ships to recognize the early and the later stages of death, as well as establish the cause of death. If death is accidental, then complete and submit the incident alert and then the incident report form. Like I have said before, and I'll repeat myself, if you are in doubt, make sure you seek radiomedical advice. Preserve evidence at the scene of accident if death was due to an accident or incident. Photograph the scene, the materials as evidence if appropriate. Again, I stress that collect as much evidence as possible. Obtain the witness statements and get signature as soon as possible so that the witness statements do not vary. So not too long a time should be allowed to pass between the witness statements. Other actions that should be taken by the master or the senior officer is to check the safe manning certificate and arrange for a new crew member to replace the person who has died on board. Inform the agents and your company at next port and request that they notify the authorities. You, if possible, make sure that the next of kin is also informed. Inform your P&I club, which is your protection and indemnity club, or your insurance correspondent, and take advice from them. Preserve the body. In most cases, yes, you should be doing that. And like I said, only in extreme cases should you be carrying out burial at sea. Make entries in the official logbook. Make required changes to the crew list, muster list, and allot duties for tackling emergencies, and have personal effects tallied and checked by 2 or more crew members. So this is a short video on handling or managing death at sea that occurs on ships or any vessels. Compared to passenger ships, cargo vessels experience much lesser death at sea. I have been with people who have sailed on passenger ships and they have experienced frequent deaths at sea, and it is more normal, so-called normal, for them to manage death at sea. But if you are sailing on cargo ships, then it is good for you to understand the formalities and the procedures associated with managing death at sea. So I'll see you soon with our next video, guys. Study hard and let me know what you thought about this video. Bye.